The trumpets blared like thunder across the packed arena. Thousands rose to their feet, banners snapping in the wind as the royal heralds strode forward in gilded robes. Citizens of Alandria and noble guests from across the world, I bid you welcome! 5 years have passed since the last time we held such games, and today they return in honor of Her Highness, Princess Arielsa. The crowd erupted in cheers. Roar shook the stone. From the royal box, Arielsa rose and gave a graceful wave. This celebration shall be a contest of 2 days. Each competitor will face 2 trials of skills. Each victory earns 1 point. At the close of the second day, those with the highest score shall advance to the final round, where they will meet each other in battle. At the end, one will be crowned the victor. The stands thundered again with cheer, and even King Jonas allowed himself a small smile.
We have not held tourneys in years. From the roar of the crowd, it is clear they have been sorely missed.
The herald raised his arms, and the crowd went silent. By the grace of Vetrivel, god of heroes and champions, may skill and valor bring honor to your homeland and heritage. Now, let the games begin! As the opening rituals concluded, King Jonas spoke low for his daughter's ears alone.
These are not common competitors or daring knights here for honorable glory. These are proud nobles, some bitter rivals, and none of them will wish to look like a fool before their enemies. That is why I went over the matchmakings myself, so that tempers would not ignite too quickly.
I know, Father. I reviewed them as well. In fact, I made some adjustments after yesterday's events. Better to be cautious now than regretful later.
Good. Then may the day pass without incidents.
The herald raised his hands once more. The first trial of the games will be archery. Let skill, patience, and the keenest eye prove their worth. Varason leaned toward Luke as the competitors began to line up. Luke, good luck out there. Luke glanced back with a confident smile.
One does not need luck when one is fully prepared.
Varason only shrugged as a response. The archers took their places along the range, bows in hand. Luke drew particular notice as he strode forward, his weapon a striking bow of polished purple wood inlaid with gold patterns. But what truly gained everyone's attention was that he still wore his flowing robes. When he reached his stand, he touched the great jewel at his side and whispered softly. At once the robes stirred, folded, tightened, reshaping themselves into a sleek archer's attire. Still rich and ornate, but it was perfectly suited for the event. The crowd gasped in awe at the transformation. Even Varason gave a low whistle. Now that is fancy and impressive. The horn sounded, the contest began. Arrow after arrow flew, thudding into the distant targets. Luke's performance quickly set him apart from the other competitors by a wide margin. The crowd roared with each release. He first outmatched the other contestants and began to surpass his own marks, his position growing sharper with each round. King Jonas clapped lightly.
He is impressive. I recall when you were children, you could outshoot him without effort.
I still could, provided he is not leaning on tricks, as I suspect he is now.
Ah, you think he's cheating.
Not exactly, but you saw that spectacle at the start. He's channeling magic to make those shots. Not outright breaking the rules, instead using magic skills that other competitors don't have.
It's not his fault there aren't many battle mages.
Battle mage, renowned healer, and caster, Luke can do it all. Even compete well with just his archery skills. But he won't take any challenge that has even the slightest chance of failure.
Below, Luke loosed his final arrow. It struck dead center, splitting the shaft of his last shot. The arena erupted in thunderous applause. With a deliberate grace, Luke turned toward the royal box and offered a deep, flourishing bow. Jonas and Arielsa clapped politely from above. He straightened, his smile gleamed as he waved to the crowd. Luke strode from the arena with victory and the roar of the crowd trailing behind him. The next event will be jousting. Riders will charge with lance and shield, seeking to unseat their foe. But remember, should neither knight fall, the combat does not end there. Tradition allows a duel, should both competitors be willing to test their skill beyond the saddle. If they both agree, that will be the contender's second event. 2 knights took the arena and the event began. In the pavilion, Varason readied himself for his turn. He picked up his shield. The golden emblems of Galaroon shined in the indoor lantern's light. The artistry was flawless, and he couldn't help but to admire it in the same way he admired it when he was a boy. At that time, it was borne by his mentor, Sir Phillips, the dreaded Lion of Galaroon. Now the shield and the pride of Galaroon was his to carry. He checked the weight of the sword at his hip. Armored and ready to go, Herc stomped impatiently. Varason approached Herc and ran a hand over the stallion's armored flank before swinging smoothly onto the saddle. A stable boy passed him the lance. Together, the rider and the horse strode into the sunlight. Prince Varason of Galaroon! The polished silver of Varason's armor shined in the sunlight as it was the armor of daylight itself. His Galaroon stallion pranced proudly and cheers erupted from the stands. I'm not sure if they love you or me, Herc. Herc snorted and tossed his mane with exaggerated pride, as it was to declare, obviously, it's me. On the far side, another rider emerged. The daylight seemed to dim as the Black Knight entered with a stallion dark as thunderclouds. Sir Anthony, the Black Lance of Callow! A ripple passed through the crowd, and equal awe and unease as the dark rider guided his stallion to the middle of the arena. In the royal box, Arielsa leaned forward with confusion in her eyes.
Sir Anthony? But Varason was meant to face Prince Reginald.
That is what I approved as well. Strange. Reginald should be here, not his knight.
Sir Anthony is well seasoned, isn't he, Father?
Near perfect record. And I hear he earned it by being ruthless and doing whatever it takes to win. His only defeat was at the hands of one man.
Back on the fields, the 2 horsemen guided their mounts closer for a customary exchange of words. I recognize that shield. Tell me, how fares Sir Phillips these days? He is Grand Master Phillips now, and doing well, last I heard. Ah, then you must be his prized pupil. Or did he gift the shield to a prince in hopes of securing his promotion? Asked the Black Knight with a chuckle. I do my best to make him proud. Good. I faced the dreaded Lion when I was but your age. He gave me my first loss. My only loss. I longed for a rematch, but he retired before I could earn it. So today, I'll settle for a victory against a student to satisfy myself. I'll see to it that the match is worth your while, but you won't be leaving with satisfaction. Their gaze locked for a long moment. Then both riders nodded curtly and drove their mounts back to their respective lines. Unlike the other competitors who stayed in the pavilion, Luke lounged in his private box. He plucked a grape from a silver tray, rolled it between his fingers, and smirked as the trumpets blared.
Good luck to you, Varason. You surely will need it.
Both stallions thundered forward, the ground shaking beneath their hooves. The lances were angled and the shields were braced. Anthony's lance struck past as Varason ducked low. Bareheaded and loose in his saddle, his instincts were sharp as a cat, as well as his counter, which landed on Anthony's shoulder just past the shield's edge. The impact jolted the Black Knight in his saddle, but did not shove him off. The crowd erupted in cheer at the first clean blow. The second pass began. Anthony's helm tilted, fixing directly on Varason's shield. Anthony dug his spurs into the horse, pressing every ounce of speed into the charge. Varason felt the intent before the strike and sank deep into his saddle, tightening his legs around his horse. Anthony's lance slammed against his shield. Varason angled his shield as he took the blow and with all his strength shoved it to the side, redirecting the thrust. They got back into position and then charged for the third time. Hug's muscles flexed like coiled steel as Varason urged him harder. The Galaroon stallion was outpacing Anthony's mount by a length. Varason aimed for the shield at first, but at the last instant, he angled his lance. It scraped across the Black Knight's helm with a screech as Anthony rocked in his saddle. Seeing the knight's head dip slightly, Varason lifted his hand in a casual wave, signaling the Black Knight to take his time and recover. Anthony adjusted his seat and readied his lance for the fourth charge. This time, Anthony's lance dropped, not at the man, but at the horse. The shaft was dangerously low towards Hug's legs. Varason's face flared. His stallion was armored, but gaps remained where it could get maimed, and even one strike could set the horse off balance and crash. His instinct snapped. He drove his lance downward to interrupt Anthony's blow, but the Black Knight twisted at the last beat. His lance snapped up at Varason. The blow connected with brutal force as the wood cracked and the steel shrieked. After reaching a safe distance, Varason patted Hug's neck, and then glared across his opponent. Not illegal, but vile. Every knight in the arena knew that was a dirty trick, and the crowd murmured with unease. The fifth charge began. Again, Anthony fainted low, and the lance dropped for Hug's leg. Damn it! Varason cursed in anger and dropped his lance to block it. It could be a feint like the last time, but he couldn't risk Hug getting hurt. Once again, the Black Knight turned the thrust upward, but cutting it a little closer this time, not giving Varason any chance to react. The lance smashed against Varason's side. He was pitched nearly clear off the saddle. Hug shrieked as the weight shifted. For a moment it seemed he would fall, but somehow Varason with a twist hurled himself upright. The Black Knight raised his lance in a mocking wave and let loose a jarring laugh which echoed through the arena. Varason stopped his mount. He exhaled and dropped his lance. The weapon struck the dirt with a heavy thud. He swung down from Hug's back. Murmurs rippled through the stands with shock and disbelief. From his private box, Luke tossed a grape into his mouth and smirked.
Idiot. He won't even risk a scratch on a measly horse.
The Black Knight strode forward. Yielding so quickly? You disappoint me, boy. Varason drew his sword. The steel hissed. I'd rather rattle your teeth than just knock you off your horse. A duel has been declared. Will the Black Lance accept? Big words coming from someone who looks so small from up here. You can look me in the eye when I break your leg, coward, declared Varason with a tone sharp as steel. Anthony tossed aside his lance and dismounted. He drew his warhammer, a weapon that was designed to crush plate. The stable hands ran to take the horses. Hug whined at Varason as he was led off. Varason gave him a small grin. The Black Knight's voice growled through the visor. If Sir Phillips had taught you manners, I wouldn't have to break your mouth. The Black Knight charged. His warhammer bore the rune of might, an enchantment that amplified his strikes. The hammer came down like thunder. Varason met the blow with his shield, which carried runes engraved in its back, wards that strengthened defense against magic-born attacks. The warhammer struck the shield, and then it came again and again. The Black Knight hammered relentlessly. Varason blocked the sixth blow and shifted his stance, then snapped forward with a thrust. The sword point shot for a gap at the Black Knight's shoulder, forcing Anthony to twist back or be skewered. Varason pressed. He lunged, smashing forward with his shield, and then immediately followed up with a thrust. Anthony backed up, shield raised, which blocked the thrust. He swung frantically to dismay Varason from getting close again. Varason hunched tight behind his shield, pushed inside the arc, and then caught Anthony's arm in a clinch. While locked in the clinch, Varason slammed his boot into the side of Anthony's knee. Metal buckled and the Black Knight collapsed onto one leg. Varason followed with a punch from his sword hand, and then drove a hard knee into the Black Knight's visor. The blow sent the knight tumbling backwards, his helm clattering loose as he crashed into the dirt. The crowd roared with excitement. Varason circled Anthony and flourished his sword. Anthony staggered upright. Rage burned across the knight's face. He ripped off his shield, hurled it at Varason, and charged with the hammer in both hands. Varason swiftly evaded the tossed shield, then his blade flashed for the exposed face of the Black Knight. But Anthony swiftly got his hammer up in a two-handed block, caught the strike on the haft. He lunged and slammed into Varason's shield and hooked the hammer's head on the rim of the shield. In a quick motion, he wrenched aside and drove his shoulder into Varason's breastplate. The impact rocked Varason, forcing a grunt as the air left his lungs. He staggered back several steps. Anthony roared and charged again. Varason dropped his sword, gripped the shield with both hands, and swung it like a battering ram. The impact crashed through Anthony's guard, his weakened knee buckled, and he fell onto his back, hard. Varason let his shield go. Anthony struggled to his feet. Dazed and half coherent, he raised the hammer for a desperate swing. Varason caught it mid-arc with his armored hands, and drove a boot onto Anthony's chest. The Black Knight lost his grip on the weapon and his footing as he crashed flat on his back once again. This time, he wasn't able to get himself up. Varason hurled the hammer aside and advanced. He knelt, seized Anthony by the breastplate, and started hammering him with his left hand. 1, 2, 3. Blood spattered. The cheers in the crowd ceased, and unease replaced excitement. Arielsa clutched her gown and whispered to herself.
Varason, ease up.
Varason eased his grip and let the barely conscious Anthony drop like dead weight. The arena held its breath. For a moment, the world was silent. Then Varason's boot came down on the Black Knight's knee with a crushing stomp. Anthony's scream tore through the walls of the Colosseum. Even Luke jolted and crushed the grape in his hand after seeing the brutal display from the otherwise smiling charmer. Varason leaned close. His voice was cold. A good healing spell, and with some time you'll recover. If you decide to compete again, do it honorably. If you don't, the next time I see you, I'll cripple you for life. He rose, retrieved his sword and shield, and turned. Varason felt the silence of the crowd. It was uneasing and heavy. He flashed his brightest grin and raised his sword high and struck a triumphant pose. The victor, Prince Varason of Galaroon! The crowd mood shifted into slight cheer. Varason sheathed his blade, waved broadly, and blew kisses to the crowd as he walked away from the arena.
Well, that went swimmingly.
The king, however, did not smile. His tone was iron.
Need to have a word with Prince Reginald about why he didn't take the stand.
What's up, dogs? I hope you enjoyed that action-packed chapter. If you did, please leave a like. And also, do you know which Disney characters these princes are based off of, both in appearance and personality? If you know, let me know in the comments, and I'll let you know if you're correct or not. Also, a massive shout out to my wonderful cast, Lina, Dunn, Stephen Disbrow, and Ewan Henderson. Please go check out their YouTube channel. They have great content that are worth a watch. Links are in the description below. And as always, I will see you all in the next video. That's all, folks.